What if the son of Hamas walked into the United Nations and exposed everything? That's exactly what Mosab Hassan Yousef did, and the message shook the world. Let's break down what he said and why the world couldn't ignore it. Mosab starts with something shocking. The victims of Hamas is not Israelites, but Palestinians themselves. Just think of that. The world looked at Israelites as the victims, and that Hamas is defending the cause of Palestinians. Now just imagine Mosab, the one born right in the stomach of Hamas, the son of one of the founders of Hamas, says Palestinians are the victims of Hamas. The words shook the world. If you are new here, you are welcome to the channel that religious leaders wish you don't discover. I'm Dr. K, a theologian, author, consultant, and polemist. What makes this channel unique is our pursuit for truth. If you crave for such deep dives, subscribe and smash the notice bell so that you don't miss the next deep dive. As a child, he was beaten up, tied to a pole by Hamas leaders. Why? Because they wanted to break him, to turn him into a weapon of hate. He calls this as the first crime Hamas committed, teaching kids to hate before they can even begin to think. And when those kids grow up, they learn the next lesson. And what's the lesson? Obedience through fear.
Hamas is committing a crime against this generation and the next generations to come. So blaming Israel is not going to solve the problem. Imagine a 10-year-old child. When I disobeyed Hamas, I was tied up to a post and I was whipped by Hamas top leader, and I don't want to mention his name because he's not worthy, with the electric cable. Every lash, I lost my breath until I lost my consciousness. My father was in prison at that time, and this leader thought that he was my mentor. This is Hamas discipline. This is how they wanted me to be, to become a violent savage like them. And the very basic intelligence of a child, when I felt that was not natural.
Inside Hamas prisons, dissenters are tortured and killed. Mosab realized that the enemy of Palestinians is the same leadership claiming to defend it. He says it the best. Hamas's war is not just against Israel. It's a war against truth and against humanity itself.
Growing up in that society, the majority of the Palestinians blamed Israel. And as a child, I took it as a Quran. I took it as a holy scripture that Israel was our problem. But then as I grew up, I start identifying the enemy within. The religious authorities, the corrupt leaderships, who basically did not care about children, they did not care about Palestinians, they still don't care about nobody but themselves. And the world has been empowering them against the prey, against the victims. This has to come to an end. At the age of 18, just few weeks after my 18th birthday, May 28, 1996, my problem was not Israel who arrested me during that experience. It was Hamas again, but this time with a lot more brutality, a lot more pain than the pain I experienced on a personal level. In prison, Hamas tortured and killed hundreds of Palestinian prisoners Hamas members, because Hamas had suspicion that they were collaborating with the State of Israel. I spent 16 months in that first arrest among Hamas leaders. They brutally tortured people, putting needles under their fingernails, burning plastic on their bodies, putting off cigarettes in their skin. The screams of hundreds of prisoners over that period of time. How could I forget? And I don't wish for any of you to go through such experience to realize what type of monster we are dealing with.
History of terror and ideology. Then Mosab reminds the world of what Hamas really is. Not freedom fighters, but extremists who thrive on chaos. Hamas cannot exist without chaos. They capitalize on chaos to obtain sympathy. Suicide bombers, assassinations, civilians blown up in buses. This includes Israelis, Arabs, and Palestinians, including in cafes, and that is Hamas's legacy.
After I was released from prison, I made very hard choices. I ended up working together with the Israeli intelligence for 10 years. We had a common goal. That goal was to stop suicide bombing attacks. Hamas, for those who don't know, or those who have short memory, carried many suicide bombing attacks during the 90s and the early 2000s. Dozens of suicide bombing attacks where a suicide bomber took an explosive built went to inside a bus and blew himself up, killing all type of people. Not only Israelis. Americans were killed. Europeans were killed. Other nationalities, including Israeli Arabs, including Muslims. Hamas did not differentiate. Hamas, without chaos, cannot survive. It's their climate. This is where they thrive. When the peace process came, if you follow the history of Hamas and their development or their evolution, whatever you want to call it, Hamas, what sabotaged the peace process through suicide bombing attacks.
Their ideology isn't political, it's apocalyptic. They believe peace is betrayal and annihilation is divine duty. Mosab's tone here isn't just angry, it's heartbroken. And he says, we are not talking about RA. You can't negotiate with people who see murder as worship.
And they don't have a vision. That's the problem. Because nobody can satisfy their ambition when they are waging a holy war. We're not talking about IRA. We're not talking about other political terrorist organizations that we can pressure them, bend them, bring them to the negotiating table. We are talking about a religious group that does not believe in political borders, that wants to annihilate an entire race in order to build an Islamic state. I don't know what else can be said about this group. And I don't know why it's not obvious to everybody.
His message, you cannot negotiate with an ideology that worships death, legitimacy and global complicity. Then Mosab turns to the people sitting right in front of him, the UN diplomats. He says,
I don't know what else can be said about this group. And I don't know why it's not obvious to everybody that the United Nations fail to condemn them. The United Nations and the rest of the international community have empowered con men who used what so-called Palestinian cause to become richer. They were seeking power and wealth. They did not care about the Palestinian people. Bunch of rapists. This is what they are. Lower than animal consciousness.
For years, the world called Hamas a political party, while they murdered civilians. He names names. Qatar hosts Hamas in luxury hotels, while Gaza starves. Russia invites them to Moscow. The UN treats them like a government. And all this silence made them stronger.
They are all enemies of children and enemies of humanity. As the children of Gaza sink in despair and poverty, leaders of Hamas, along with their families and their entourage, enjoy the Four Seasons Hotel. You know, Qatar, for example, it's a member of the United Nations, playing the mediator, etc. They could have fooled me. They are the ones hosting Hamas. They are the ones who have been funding Hamas. Russia, Musa Abu Marzouk, a Hamas top leader, was in Moscow just yesterday. Okay, to be more accurate, a week ago. What's this? Where democracies should be united in fighting such savages. If we don't eradicate Hamas and other terrorist groups in Gaza this time and give Gaza back to the people of Gaza, we will give them legitimacy. We will show them that we are afraid. And tomorrow, they will come back with vengeance. What made Hamas attack this time a lot stronger than the past wars? Because under the international pressure, we had to negotiate with them. And we had to give them legitimacy. This is what encouraged them and gave them power.
Mosab's message is simple. If you treat terrorists as statesmen, don't be shocked when they act like kings. October 7 atrocities. When Mosab speaks about October 7, his voice cracks with anger. He paints a picture we all saw.
None of us thought about the mother of that kid and how she felt about seeing her daughter being dragged that way by a savage who wants to dominate, who sees women as a property. This is how Hamas sees women, a property, something they can own. As they want to own territory, more territory, their lust, their sexual lust, their lust for power, their lust for territory.
It's not just a story, it's a warning. Because when you dehumanize others, you lose your own humanity. Mosab calls Hamas what they are. Rapists and murderers hiding behind God's name. He doesn't care about politics here, just the truth. In my whole life, I have never heard anybody speak so truthfully, so boldly, so unapologetically, and undiplomatically than Mosab spoke at the United Nations group. His message hits hard. No cause can ever justify barbarism, human shields, and propaganda warfare. Then Mosab exposes Hamas's deadliest weapon, lies. They fire rockets from inside hospitals, hide under schools. Then they cry war crime when people die. He says, they gamble with children's blood for political gain.
We are talking about a big problem. It's beyond Israel. And here is the danger. And with this, I will conclude. The danger if Israel fail their war in Gaza, which is a brutal war, because if it was open war, Israel would annihilate Hamas in no time, matter of hours, let's say days. Hamas is finished. But since Hamas strategy, it's a strategic thing of Hamas to take human shields. This crime cannot be forgiven. None of us should forgive this crime. Gambling with children's blood for political gain, it doesn't get worse than this. So Israel now got stained by blood. This is what Hamas wanted to happen from day one. They wanted to sacrifice thousands of children so Israel can take the blame. Digging tunnels and bunkers under hospitals, schools, launching missiles. A Hamas misfire, how many people killed at a hospital, and they went so fast to blame Israel, and the rest of the world listened to them and listened to their propaganda. Nobody is concerned to check what is true and what is false.
When Hamas rockets fire, they blame Israel, and the world believes them without even checking the facts. Mosab calls that the coward way.
Blame is the cheap way. It's the way of the coward. Those who have the courage take responsibility. They don't blame.
He is begging the world, stop rewarding manipulation. Stop letting propaganda shape compassion. Because every time truth dies, more innocents die too. Global threat and call to action. Finally, Mosab makes it global. He says, if Hamas wins, every radical group on earth will see it as a green light. He warns that ex-ISIS fighters have already formed sleeper cells across Europe. This isn't just Israel's war, it's the world's test.
If Hamas is not defeated, if Hamas is not eradicated in Gaza, we will set the model. We will give the freedom to so many radical groups around the world, especially in Europe. Because many of ISIS have fled to Europe under civilian cover. There are sleeping cells in Europe, and there is a migrant problem in Europe, and there is an Islamic problem in Europe. And this is just a warning. If you really care for the global security, and I speak as a person who was part of the counter-terrorism effort against radical Islamists, if Hamas is not defeated in Gaza, it will inspire many groups around the globe. They will see that few thousands of savages can blackmail the international community, the superpowers, and bring democracies to their knees. Many of them are watching now, and many of them are very happy about how the world is responding. And many of them are satisfied to see the state of confusion and fear and anxiety. This is the time to get united. Because if Israel fails in Gaza, all of us, we will be next.
His final words are both chilling and hopeful. Mosab ends not with hate, but with prayer for peace, for truth, and for courage. That's Mosab Hassan Yousef, the son of Hamas, who stood at the UN to expose Hamas, the organization that birthed him, that gave him his identity as a child, but which he rejected. So share this, speak up, because the truth needs allies too. If you have enjoyed this deep dive, kindly do me a favor, like, subscribe, and smash the notice bell so that when I upload another deep dive, you will receive a notification. To watch another video about Mosab, click on this link.